being live on Tuesdays, I think, means the product will be better because it's a show of commitment that hasn't previously been there for SmackDown since initially it was on UPN, and WWF was excited about being on broadcast TV, hitting homes that cable didn't reach. What's your take on that part of this week's story, SmackDown being live now on Tuesday?
Well, I think that going live and providing live programming for your television partner is extremely valuable. I think that WWE, as far as their rights fees going forward, which is a kind of a murky area within the industry, not just wrestling by any stretch, but all television rights fees are being evaluated. I think that it gives them more equity and more cachet. So I think that's really a smart move. I think that there's always the human nature of doing a live broadcast with no net, no ability to go back and do edited audio or to edit things out of the show that were not, desirable. It always gives you a little bit more of a pep in your step. Live is just motivational, and it keeps you rolling. And it's even on a bad night or a bad show or a bad audience or whatever, just the fact that you know that you are, as a broadcaster and as a performer in the ring on live TV is a good adrenaline rush. So I think they win in a lot of ways by going live. They got their crew together on Monday. They can come, the normal rotation is still in place as always for Tuesday. And then, I've had a lot of questions. Why don't they go live on Thursday? Well, it's impossible to the degree that it's just not feasible. It would be spending good money after bad. It disrupts the travel schedule. It disrupts a lot of things. When you got everybody on the road for those 2 consecutive days, and that just makes too much sense. It shouldn't be overthought. So I think all in all, going live is a win-win-win on many areas in the big picture for WWE.
I didn't believe 15 years ago that being live or being taped really made a big difference to ratings, because I just don't think wrestling fans, the vast majority, not the ones who are devouring PWTorch.com every day, but the vast majority of fans want to watch 2 hours of wrestling, and they haven't checked out spoilers and all that. I think with social media now, I just think if something big happens on Tuesday, people know about it, and if they haven't heard a buzz about Tuesday's tapings, they're not really prioritizing SmackDown, and that's why SmackDown's ratings, one of the reasons it's considerably lower than Raw. I do think in 2016, being live adds that anything can happen adrenaline rush to the program. So, I mean, 10 years ago, I didn't think it was worth the expense. I think now it is. I think now being live and having a history built up of surprises on SmackDown will make it a destination more so for people. As for the brand split, as we're just defaulting to calling it, WWE's official language is a distinct roster on SmackDown, but essentially with hints of a draft, it means a roster split. It's been a fun 24 or so hours. There's so many opinions on this. I'm for it, but I'm for it if it's well executed. And I'm against anything if it's poorly executed, but I am absolutely for having distinct rosters for so many reasons. I think it creates a discipline to not just throw matches and the same top wrestlers on twice a week and overexpose them. It keeps some talent separate, so eventually there's a dream match that gets built up over 2 years. And I also think it forces WWE and Vince McMahon to not take for granted mid-card guys who might get lost in the shuffle if the top 4 or 6 guys are dominating both Raw and SmackDown each week. I think it forces some structure and some discipline that, if executed well, is a tremendous positive for fans, for the company, and for wrestlers who might otherwise get overlooked or overexposed. That's my take, but I'm really curious of yours, because certainly we've been through it before, and there have been pros and cons. What's your take?
Well, I like the idea. I think it's timely. I think it's the fact that they have more wrestlers under contract now, apparently, than they've ever had. They have a really viable third brand, an NXT, to place more trained guys, not the green guys, but the guys with indie experience and so forth. So you got a real good process in place. All the reasons you mentioned were the same reasons it was good the first time they did it.
Yeah.
Those reasons haven't changed, in my estimation. But I think they learned a lot from their last foray into this, and if it's completely kept separate and the writing teams are separate and they're able to be competitive, if the announced teams are completely separate and they're able to be competitive, of course you get some competitive nature from the talents. I think it's that the fans should really benefit from this at the end of the day.
I do too. I don't want to see Renee Young on Raw and SmackDown. I'm normally, the more Renee Young, the better. I think she's stellar at what she does. I think everybody should be brand exclusive. Tom Phillips does interviews on one, Renee on the other. I don't want to see Byron Saxton on both shows. No offense to Byron. I mean, it's neither pro nor con Byron in that respect. I'm with you. I want to see complete separation week to week, Monday and Tuesday. And I even for WrestleMania season, WrestleMania is going to feature wrestlers from both brands. However they do the rest of the pay-per-views, I don't know. But obviously WrestleMania will feature everybody. I'd like to see very little crossover of talent even at WrestleMania season. I think one of the big differences with this brand split, Jim, because I'm actually with you on the idea of being an optimist in a glass half full. I was more reacting to the instantly people going, oh, such a disaster last time, then by definition it's a bad idea this time. And I'm with you. I think they'll learn from their mistakes. And number two, with the previous brand split, SmackDown was not live, and it wasn't on the same network as Raw. So there were differences. There were actually good business reasons prior not to treat SmackDown as an equal to Raw. But now, the only difference is the day, and I guess the length of show. I mean, hopefully Raw goes to 2 hours, but that's a whole other discussion. But they're on the same network. They're both live. There's no business reason to treat one better than the other at this point. Only, well, Raw's my firstborn, and I love Raw more. That might be Vince's attitude, but there's just no good reason, and especially during football season, SmackDown actually will have less competition for that 18 to 49 male demo that, WWE is chasing after. So I think there's a better chance that the brand split will be done better this time than last time.
I have every reason to believe that, and I'm very optimistic about the whole situation. I've championed the idea that if it was a true brand split that didn't have, it had very limited, even to the point of, do you go down to? I would go down to everything. I would say it's like the WWE is now the NFL. They have an NFC conference, they have an AFC conference, and even though I will dispel my theory. Do you have the referees? Are they WWE referees, and they can officiate on both shows like you can in the NFL? You're an NFL ref, so you can do an AFC game or an NFC game. I think they have two leagues, and the only thing you would do is not have interleague play. The only time you'd have interleague play is when it was carefully orchestrated and storyboarded on television. But that would be I wouldn't even do that this year. I would leave it. I would try to get as clean and be as separate as I possibly could, to where you could program some really unique storylines where you have a trading deadline. So let's say that you want to pick up some business, and maybe the month of December. I'm just throwing a month out. It could be any month. You have a trading month. You have trading deadlines where the general manager of Raw is and the general manager of SmackDown can recruit. So there's a lot of cool storylines that come out of that. The same thing, what do you do when you have a guy that's or a lady, man, whatever, person from NXT that's a highly regarded prospect, and they haven't signed with one brand or the other? Yeah. So then you have a recruiting process on, which adds to more potential storylines. So there's a lot of really neat things you can do on this thing, and the only thing that I see right now is for a lot of fans is that they're already overthinking it to some degree on who's going to be where, and who's going to be a heel, who's going to be a babyface. Will this guy get a push? Does this mean that so-and-so is going to go right for the main roster? Questions that are absolutely impossible to answer, but they're still being asked. I guess just for the hell of it, I guess, just for the sake of asking, when one with common sense should know there are no answers to this question yet. Just stay tuned and let it play out, because no matter what we say about who should be on Raw and who should be on SmackDown, and there'll probably be John Cena will have one brand and Roman Reigns will have another. If you go in that line of thinking, past that, if you want to go there past that, we don't know who the hell's going to be on those rosters, and quite frankly, I don't care. It's irrelevant to me, absolutely, totally irrelevant, because I believe totally that there are multiple ways to do this right. Yep. And until it's put into place and until the machine starts rolling, we're not going to know if it's going to work well or great or slow or whatever. So I'm happy they're doing it.